On May 11th, 2025, the world lost a professional wrestling icon, a competitor whose skill set was only matched by his own creativity, and a man who inspired a whole generation, and that man goes by the Arabian Machine of Destruction, the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal, death-defying Terrence Brunk, aka Sabu. Now, if you don't know who Sabu is, this is a man that modernized and changed the game in hardcore pro wrestling, and to many people, one of the toughest and craziest pro wrestlers of all time. Like literally, this is a guy that would take fire to the face, barbed wire to the back, and would use a chair to slingshot himself outside the ring. And in the words of Sabu's longtime friend and rival, Taz, Sabu was aura before aura was cool. So I know we still have 2 more videos in the Swerve and Hangman series, but I wanted to step away from that for a bit because I'm not gonna lie, your boy was starting to get burnt out with those 2. And since this channel is about pro wrestling, I felt it was important to talk about an icon that has inspired so many people to this day. So instead of covering just one match in Sabu's decorated career, we're gonna be covering 3. Hey yo, I'm not gonna hold you, this man has a wild catalog, but I think I did a pretty decent job of highlighting him really well with these 3 matches that we're gonna be talking about today. So let's go ahead and get started.
Technique of shadow boxing.
Now, it's only right to start this video off by talking about one of Sabu's biggest feuds in his entire career. And it's ironically against the man that just talked so highly of him on Dynamite the other night. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to reintroduce to you the human suplex machine, Taz. Now, before Taz was an announcer for AEW, he was at one point the face of Extreme Championship Wrestling, aka ECW. And Taz had a huge feud with Sabu that led up to their match at Barely Legal 1997, which to many people is an all-time classic in both men's career. As far as the story between the 2, it's a lot, but if you are interested, WWE on their Vault channel dropped a great video that covers the complete feud from head to toe, so check that video out when you can. I'll be sure to leave it in the description as well. Long story short, Sabu left ECW in 1995 to go to Japan, and before he left, he was tag partners with Taz. He would then return to ECW later that year, and Taz was pissed. The man felt abandoned, and he felt like he had to figure out everything on his own after Sabu just up and left. Hell, he was so damn pissed he went on a whole rampage on the ECW roster. This man was getting tackled by every single member of the roster, and he was whooping everybody's ass. And he would get on a microphone and call out Sabu every single opportunity he had. Also around this time, Taz aligned himself with legendary manager Bill Alfonso, who plays a huge factor in ECW's existence as well as this entire video. Eventually, Sabu answered Taz's call and decided to challenge him at Barely Legal 1997. So the match starts, and these 2 have an intense stare-off. Taz is completely unfazed and unbothered, while Sabu was pacing around the ring, almost excited to fight. Then Taz would smack the shit out of Sabu, catching him off guard. Sabu would smack Taz right back, but Taz just eats the hit. Then they just start going back and forth, just straight squabbling. Taz is outside of the ring and gets hit with a baseball slide that sends him to the rails. Then Sabu gets a chair, setting up for what I like to call a Sabu signature, running straight to the ropes and jumping off the chair, flying to the crowd. The fans were straight losing it. And as wild as those fans were in those ECW days, I know them Philly crowds smelled like a mixture of bitchless behavior, clap that ass, and raw ribeye. Shit must have smelled so bad that Kensington smelled like roses with all that testosterone in the 2300 arena. The 2 start fighting on top of a table, and Sabu tries going for a tornado DDT, but Taz holds onto the rope, leading Sabu to crash through the table. And Bill Alfonso is just yelling at bro with his hot ass breath, yo, get this man a tic tac, please. Sabu would eventually get back up and hop on the turnbuckle, landing a huge leg drop on Taz. Then Taz later on in the match would hit Sabu with a Tazplex, having him tripping like he drunk. Then Sabu follows up with his own version of the Tazplex on Taz, and look at bro aura farming with his arms crossed like he got him. Taz behind him hitting the pose too, straight flicking up for the gram. Like, who are these niggas trying to impress? Incels? And Taz looking at Sabu like,
boy, if you don't get...
Taz would then go for a clothesline and miss. Then Sabu gets Taz in his own submission known as the Taz Mission.
He copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
Taz eventually, though, would end the match with a Taz Mission of his own and knock Sabu out unconscious. And after the match, the two gave each other respect until Rob Van Dam gets involved and attacks Taz from behind. Sabu would then try to calm the tension down between the two, and Taz grabs Van Dam from the back, so Sabu could get a hit off. But just when you think Sabu was about to hit Rob Van Dam, he instead hits Taz and they both jump him. And the cherry on top, Bill Alfonso turns on Taz and aligns himself with Sabu and Rob Van Dam. And a year later, they would dominate the company. Has to be my favorite match out of Sabu's entire catalog. And it's gonna be the first tag match that we're gonna be covering on this channel. 4 all-time greats in one ring. On one end, you have Sabu tagging with eventual Hall of Famer and ECW legend Rob Van Dam. And during this time, RVD was the TV champ as well as tag team champ with Sabu. And their opponents, 2 of the best wrestlers to come out of Japan, Jinsei Shinzaki and the late great Mr. Sauced Out himself, Hayabusa. These two wanted the smoke and decided to fly all the way from Japan to the States to take the ECW tag titles away from Sabu and RVD. Now, I couldn't find any matches that Shinzaki had with either RVD or Sabu, but Hayabusa on the other hand had a great match with Sabu in FMW that I might cover in another video. So before the bell even rings, Sabu and RVD argue on who should be the one to start the match. And look at this man Sabu out here scaring the ref like dogs to mailmen. And bro looking to low-key pick a fight with his partner as Alfonso tries to separate them. Eventually, Rob Van Dam and Hayabusa are the ones to start the matchup. RVD gets the crowd hyped up and he got a good response. But hear how the crowd reacts to Sabu.
A lot of crap.
That crowd was itching for that man to get in, while Sabu moving like a crackhead ready to strike. RVD didn't care though, and he was taunting the whole time, leading Hayabusa to kick him and follow up with a leg attack. Then bro pimp smacks the fuck out of Sabu, causing bro to spaz. Personally, I do the same thing as Sabu, because ain't no way you gon' sneak me and get away with it. But then again, don't let that shit happen to me though. Shinzaki comes in and adds on to the attacking by clocking RVD in the throat and landing his whole body on bro. Pause. Van Dam gets sent to the ropes, kicking Shinzaki in the face, goes for another kick and gets caught, and then another with Shinzaki ducking. And look at this shot right here. Shinzaki braced for impact. Look at how bro is standing. And RVD out here moving like he in a Shaw Brothers film. Dirty whole face ass. Just straight clocked him in a jaw. Finna have him eat out of a straw. And nah, bro taking a bow after giving this dude a Mortal Kombat X-ray is crazy. Shinzaki gets Van Dam in the corner and does his own version of Undertaker's old school called the Ogami Watari. Straight up aura farming for a bunch of sweaty niggas that chops Van Dam. Shinzaki ducks the spin kick, but RVD comes back with another, then follows with a leg drop, and finally tags Sabu in. Sabu goes for the pin, but Shinzaki kicks out. Hayabusa now gets tagged in, and Sabu goes right for his leg, then follows with an Arabian Press moonsault right into a pin with Hayabusa kicking out. He then throws Sabu to the ropes and gets shoulder checked. Hayabusa kips up and hits a gorgeous dropkick, sending Sabu outside of the ring. Then bro does a backflip off of the ropes. Bro, why is everyone in this match armor farming so damn much? Battle who got the most drip, and I guarantee you Hayabusa beats Sabu by an inch. So as Sabu has Hayabusa in a camel clutch, Van Dam springboard off the ropes and drop kicks bro in the face. Like, my guy, you could've just kicked them casually, but you the whole fucking show. So I might have to let it slide for a bit. And this next part right here flips a switch on the whole match. While RVD was hyped, Shinzaki flies off of the ropes and kicks RVD in the back, sending him to the other side, then flies out and attacks RVD. Meanwhile, in the ring, Hayabusa kicks Sabu outside, then baseball slides, hitting both Sabu and RVD, then flies off with the Acai moonsault and crashing into the both of them. The crowd chanting ECW, Alfonso blowing his whistle, and a bunch of sweaty dudes on the ground laid out. Either it's a pro wrestling event or it's an average day at Washington Square Park. Straight madness out there. So while Van Dam gets jumped, The cameraman pans back into the ring and we see Sabu jump off the chair onto the ropes and flies at all three men. And run that back real quick. Look at the distance he just jumped between the ring and them. Bro, get this man in the high jump competition in the Olympics. He finna break all kinds of records if he gets distance like that. RVD are literally jumping this man, and after all that, I'm surprised RVD was able to finish this match. Sabu is now in a 2v1 situation, and these Japanese boys looked at each other and locked in on him. Out. I guess you can see where JJK can get their inspiration from when it comes to jumping. Next, we see Hayabusa and RVD fighting ringside while Shinzaki and Sabu are in the ring. Then Sabu hits a clean Hurricane Rana off the top rope when out of nowhere from the fucking sky, Van Dam hits a crazy 5-star frog splash on Shinzaki. Like, fam, look at this clean 450 splash from Hayabusa. Gotta be one of the best 450s I've ever seen in my entire life. Hayabusa then is about to hit Sabu with a move, but gets tripped up on the ropes and Alfonso gives a chair to him. Then RVD jumps from the other side and clocks the fuck out of Hayabusa. That man's brain is finna be mush, bro, doing the cha-cha slide after that shit. So to end this match, RVD and Sabu decide to do it ECW style. Sabu pinning Shinzaki and retaining the ECW tag titles. So for this last match, I feel like it's only right to talk about a legend that has done so much for one company taking on another legend that's done so much for another. You see, back in 2006, the WWE was at war with ECW, a brand battle if you will. The WWE being ran by the demon of all demons in Vince McMahon, and ECW being ran by the Hall of Fame Glazer himself, Paul Heyman. Everyone wanted to see this pay-per-view at the legendary Hammerstein Ballroom in New York, with matches like Kurt Angle versus Randy Orton, or John Cena versus RVD for the WWE Championship. The event was set up for success, but one match stood out. Sabu versus Rey Mysterio in an Extreme Rules match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now Rey, just like Sabu, was a part of ECW at one point in his career, but in 2006, Rey was on top of the world. In 06, he won the Royal Rumble and eliminated all 29 other men, went on to win the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 22 versus Kurt Angle and Randy Orton, had a banger match with Shawn Michaels on Raw the year before, all while grieving the loss of his best friend and fellow ECW alum, Eddie Guerrero. Meanwhile, on Sabu's end, he was in TNA having classics with Raven, Rhino, Abyss, and so many other TNA legends. He also had a match at Turning Point of 05 against Abyss in the first ever Barbed Wire Massacre match for TNA. Then going on a hiatus after having a broken forearm, he returned at Lockdown of TNA in April 23rd of 06 to take on Samoa Joe for the X Division title, and then after his match, he got released from TNA. Then signed on to a one-year deal with the WWE, all leading to this moment. Now, Paul Heyman tried to recruit Rey Mysterio back in ECW, but Rey Mysterio said nah, and he wanted to stay on SmackDown. So Rey and Sabu had to put on a good show. And I know Sabu was geek getting that WWE exposure like,
you know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
So out the gate, these two grab chairs and start going crazy, swinging them at each other and then throwing them. Sabu then throws Rey over him and then sets the chair up as a launch pad and clocks Mysterio on the head with a leg lariat. Rey then launches at Sabu with a move of his own, then goes for the 619 with Sabu dodging it. Then Sabu gets the chair and spikes it off of Rey's head. Bro finna have Antonio Brown levels of CTE if he gets more headshots like that. Rey goes up on the top rope and hits Sabu with a moonsault, going into the pin with Sabu kicking out. He then sends Sabu to the ropes, gets reversed, then Rey stops his momentum, kicking him in the mouth. Then Sabu gets Rey's chest, running to the corner and hitting a leg drop while Rey is hanging on the rope. Sabu would eventually set up a table ringside, and as he climbs back into the ring, Mysterio drop kicks him and then launches off the rope and sends himself and Sabu through the table, leading to the fans wanting more like a typical crackhead in the streets of New York City. Them boys be doing backflips and shaking ass for a little cash. Rey sends him to the corner, then sets the chair up again and goes for another attack with Sabu countering, and then hitting Rey with a springboard attack. Sabu then grabs another chair, and I want y'all to hear the sound the chair makes bouncing off of Rey's dome. The gulag is loading up for Rey as we speak. He finna see Eddie real soon. So after having Rey almost see the pearly gates to heaven, Sabu gets him up on the table, then goes back into the ring to set the chair up, and this might be the best spot of the whole match, and unfortunately the last spot. Sabu jumps off the chair to to the top rope and hits Ray with a DDT, sending them through the table, and once again, the crowd loses it. But unfortunately, this bump would cause the match to end in a no contest, leaving both men having to be carried out in kayfabe at the end of the match. And so, those were 3 matches that I felt like would highlight Sabu's career in the best way possible for new wrestling fans as well as longtime wrestling fans. But if y'all haven't seen any more of his work, don't just go off of these 3 matches that I recommended. I highly recommend some other amazing matches, such as Sabu versus Mick Foley, aka Cactus Jack. Sabu had a great match against La Parka in MLW. The match that I referenced earlier in the video with him versus Hayabusa at FMW. He had a solid ladder match versus Rob Van Dam in ECW of 06. A fun little feud versus John Cena, and arguably his best match of all time, his match versus Terry Funk for the ECW World title at Born to Be Wired back in 1997. Sabu's very last match was on April 18th of this year versus Joe Janela at his spring break in GCW. This match will be considered Sabu's retirement match, but unfortunately, 3 weeks after, he passed away. Sabu in many ways is seen as an icon for pro wrestling. He's done so many incredible and wonderful things, and he has been seen as a locker room leader as well as an incredible human being for what he has done in and out of the ring. So prayers and condolences to Mr. Brunk and his family and friends, and I hope after this video you get the opportunity to understand who a legend is in pro wrestling. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'll be back for Swerve vs. Hangman Part 3, and as always, until next time y'all, Tribe signing out, peace.